Hello boys and girls, quick video here on the PTR. We're going to be looking into the tier sets of the healers, except the priest, because I don't have a priest right now. I'm gearing it up and I'm leveling it, but I won't be able to show you the stuff for the priest. So that being said, keep in mind that this priest is actually getting a lot of changes, and it could be the meta healing class in 10.2. We don't know that yet, but of course, as the PTR goes on, I'll provide more and more information. So starting with the druid, this is what the tier set looks like. First, I don't like the looks of that too much. There are variations, of course. So the one that looks best for me is the Raid Finder. The rest are kind of plain, so this is the heroic, it's not bad. The mythic is missing shoulders right now, so it's not one of the best looking sets, but nevertheless, it's kind of promising at least what the tier set bonuses are. As you know, the Groove Guardians is a new talent that the druids actually got, and the talent tier set is actually revolving around those Groove Guardians. So now they're going to be healing 2 additional allies with their nourishes at 40% effectiveness, so that's just even more healing that they're providing already. And then if you're consuming your clear casting with your regrowth, you also cast a huge nourish to a nearby ally. So that's just a bit of extra healing. It doesn't sound bad. However, this tier set does not have a damage component towards it. So it would be nice to have this extra healing, but it won't be that powerful in M+. From meta perspective, of course, because it doesn't have a damage component. As for Raid, I guess for Raid, having extra healing is also quite good. So overall, I think the Druid, with the additional rework and the talent that we saw already, is not in a bad place after all. Is it going to be meta? Probably not, but of course all of this is dependent on the tuning and partially on the other classes that will be part of the meta, because the healer needs to basically be in quite good sync with them. This is the Evoker tier set. Let me open the appearances first. Okay, can I please... How do I get rid of this? This is annoying. Anyway, this is what we're looking for. Now, this is the normal. It's not looking bad, actually. This is one of the better looking sets from everything that we've seen so far. Unfortunately, you don't see that all the time when you're playing the Evoker, because you're in Dragon form. But I like the Mythic set as well. I like the normal as well. So this is actually probably a good 9 out of 10 overall. Now, the tier set bonus itself, empower spells cast up to 5 living frames enemies or allies struck at 40% effectiveness. This is actually pretty good, because as you can see, it also has a damaging component inside of the tier set. And then the 4-piece is a bit more strange. Living Flame has a chance to apply Echo at 70% effectiveness on allies, healed, or nearby ally who doesn't already have Echo. So there's no damage component here. We also don't know what the proc chance of this is going to be, but at least it has a damaging component, and basically it's going to give you more healing or damage based on the living flames that are going to be cast from the empowered spells. And then the extra echoes, I guess, are always fine, both in M+ and in Raid. So overall, this is not a bad tier set as well. Depending, of course, on the tuning, it could be that Evoker is potentially back in the meta. I don't think that it's that bad that we can just scratch it out at this point and say this is not going to be a good class in 10.2. On to the Evoker, though, which we do have a lot to say about the tier set. Now, this is actually one of the, on paper, of course, one of the best sounding tier sets when it comes to healing. It's extremely overpowered, especially in Raid. It's going to be huge having a monk. However, I don't think it will stay like that. I'm pretty sure that they're going to change it eventually. Now, let's first look into the appearances. As you can see, this is what the normal one looks like. It's not bad. I mean, it doesn't vibe with monk too much for me, but I like the coloring, I like the variations, so overall, I would give it a solid 8, maybe out of 10. Now, let's talk about that tier set bonus. Renewing Mist applies G-Harmony on its initial target, increasing their healing taken from you by 50% for 8 seconds. So, this is, I think it's already been changed a little bit. It only applies it to the initial target and not jumping, because I think the initial text had jumping. But 50% more healing for 8 seconds, it's huge, right? And then 20% of all healing you do to targets with Chi Harmony is stored and then dispersed evenly among your allies with Renewing Mist when Chi Harmony fades or is refreshed. So basically you're going to get a lot of passive healing, because 50% from the 2-set bonus is a lot. So you're going to get a lot of stored healing, which will then be distributed to your targets with Renewing Mist. Now, it doesn't have a damaging component, but this is huge contribution to your healing overall. And I'm assuming that this, of course, we need to test a little bit, but I'm assuming this is not going to stay as is in this scenario. Now, is Mistweaver going to be meta in next tier? Probably not, because this doesn't have a damaging component. Talking about, of course, M+. But it will feel really great to have this bonus, and when they nerf it, or if they nerf it, I hope it's not too significant and they keep the synergies that we see over here with pretty high level, pretty high numbers, based on what they're going to change. But overall, it's looking pretty good for Mistweaver. They're getting some small changes as well, so bright future for the class again, but obviously probably not going to be meta. Now, the Paladin also has a pretty interesting tier set bonus. The looks of the tier for me are a little bit too plain, because I don't know, I was expecting a little bit more. This just looks too old school for me. So this is how the normal tier set looks. It's kind of like upgraded version of one of the very first tier sets that we had. I don't remember. Was it Molten Core or something? Anyways, again, not fan of this. It's not looking too cool, but let's look into the bonuses instead. So Glimmer of Light, when Glimmer of Light dissipates or refreshed, it creates a holy reverberation on its target to heal an ally for some amount or damage an enemy over 8 seconds. Multiple reverberations may overlap up to 3 times, so basically this is stacking, and this also has a damaging component to it. So I spoke about this in my previous videos, but casting Holy Shocks on targets with your Glimmer of Light already is not something that you drive to do a lot because you want to spread them for your Daybreak, etc. But there are a lot of passive mechanics that you're going to get the Glimmers cast with Holy Shocks on them, just because when you cast, let's say, Divine Toe, that's already being cast on targets that have the Glimmer. Or if you press your Daybreak, you get those stack Holy Shocks that are going to trigger that multiple times on the same target. So overall, it's not that bad of a tier set bonus. The 4-piece is a bit strange. The cooldown of Daybreak is reduced by 15 seconds. Of course, having more Daybreaks is always great, which is also going to help your mana eventually, because mana is getting changed as well. But overall, this seems to be a very okay set, and considering the state of Holy Paladin and all the changes that it got in this tier, considering that almost none of the other healers actually get significant changes, apart from, let's say, Disc Priest and maybe a little bit Druid, I think that there's a pretty strong chance that Holy Paladin is going to remain the meta healer for M+ next season. Of course, all dependent on tuning, but right now the future for that class is quite bright. Not to mention that this is one of the few sets that actually has a damaging component to the tier set, which is not true for many of the others. And last but not least, let's look into my favorite Restoration Shaman. Which doesn't have a damaging component to its tier set bonus, which is quite sad, of course. But apart from, I guess, few tier sets quite a few seasons back, I don't know, the tier sets of the Shaman didn't look that great, did they? Anyway, so this is how it looks like. Let me open the appearances. This is the normal set. It's not bad. I would say that there's a little bit to be desired. The shoulders and the helm are fine. The rest looks a little bit too plain. But I would say that the heroic and the normal actually look quite nice. So I'll be excited to get these. Now let's look into what it does. Chain Heal, Healing Surge, and Healing Wave make their initial target with a Tidal Reservoir, causing them to receive 20% of all Riptide healing you deal for 10 seconds. And next, Riptide healing is increased by 15%. If Riptide is active on the same target as Tidal Reservoir, its heal over time effect has a 10% chance to create a new Riptide on a nearby ally. So this resolves around spreading Riptides as much as you can. And let's say that you have quite of those rolling in rate, you can eventually reach a point where they just spread themselves out and you don't have to like press the button, right? It's very unlikely this is going to happen. If it happens, they're probably going to nerf it. But this is, I think, going to change the playstyle of the Shaman quite a lot, because right now we're basically focused on spamming chain heals, and everything else is just, you know, on the side trying to accompany the chain heals. In this case, we'll be highly focused on the Riptide. Keep in mind that we just got an update on the PTR, and the initial heal of the Riptide got a buff. I think it's 30% more. So basically, they're going to force you, so to speak, to spread as many Riptides as possible. Now, this sounds quite good for rate. I think it's going to vibe pretty well with the rate and the damage profiles there. I'm kind of scared how it's going to look in M+, simply because missing chain heals basically means that you kind of have to play a little bit like Druid. You have to spread your Riptides, have hearts on everybody, so when you pop your Primordial Wave, you can heal everyone up. But that also entirely depends on what the damage profile and the healing profiles of the dungeons are, which you'll have the chance to test pretty soon. So I wouldn't say this is good, but I wouldn't say this is bad tier set bonus either. We'll have to wait and see, but this is going to shake a little bit the playstyle of Restoration Shaman for sure. Is it going to be in a good or a bad direction? Time will tell, we'll test and we'll see. But this is all I have for you right now. I think Mythic Plus is starting to be tested on the PTR in about 2 days. So I'll try to test out the Shaman. Probably, actually not probably, it's quite certain that the build for the Restoration is going to change a bit. Maybe we're not going to run High Tide anymore. We're going to run Primordial Tide Core to get more Riptides out, and maybe try to get some of the other Riptide talents as well. But we'll see how that ends up being. For now, that's all I have for you. Let me know what you think about the looks of those tier sets and the bonuses in the comments below, and I'll talk to you pretty soon in the next video. Until then, take care.